The cheapest or the worst ticket that you can buy to attend the upcoming 2024 Wimbledon final between Djokovic and Alcaraz is $10,000. This is the most expensive ticket pricing in the history of sports. So to all you guys that are saying tennis is dead, tennis is not dead. It's alive and well. I have a feeling this is going to be a match to remember, and the whole world is going to tune in. I'm going to perform an in-depth analysis of the matchup Alcaraz versus Djokovic. I'm also going to make a prediction on who will win. But first, let's quickly talk about the semifinals. And Carlos Alcaraz was a little bit shaky in that first set. He was down 5-2, but then started playing better and better. Medvedev in the post-match interview said that most players have a preferred way of playing. Maybe they're aggressive, maybe they're counterpunchers, maybe they're more defenders. And Carlos Alcaraz can do all of that as his favorite playing style. The guy has an unbelievably powerful game, can blow pretty much anyone off the court. He's an unbelievable defender. He's also a great counterpuncher. And to top it all off, he is extremely versatile. So Medvedev has done really well against Carlos on hard court, and it was expected that he was going to lose on grass. It's not his favorite surface, but my hat is off to Medvedev. He gave it his best shot. He was fighting hard, and I thought he played a good match, especially in that first set. But once Carlos got rolling, there was not much that Medvedev could do. Interestingly, Carlos was serving, volleying quite a bit towards the end of the match, which was nice to see. Djokovic against Musetti describes perfectly the qualities of Djokovic. And I'm going to compare this particular match to Djokovic against Kyrgios. So I'll let you guys know that Kyrgios played Djokovic really well. However, when Kyrgios faced Djokovic in a Wimbledon final, this is a completely different Djokovic. And Musetti, in the press conference after the match, said that he never played against this level of Djokovic before. Musetti has beaten him once in Monte Carlo. He took him to 5 sets at the French Open. But what differentiates Novak from other players is his ability to find his best tennis when it matters most. So the most difficult stage to beat Novak is deep in a slam, a semifinal or a final. So while I thought Musetti played a phenomenal match, he had a spectacular one-handed backhand passing shot cross court. You can check it out. It's all over social media. He played a good second set, was up a break early, took Novak to a tiebreak. And Novak is an unbelievable tiebreak player because this is where his mental toughness shines. So of course Novak wins the second set tiebreak, and then in the third set Novak is cruising, and at 5-3 he's up love 40 on Musetti's serve, 3 match points, and Musetti rattles off 5 points in a row and then has love 30, and this match could have gotten complicated if Musetti breaks in that game. You could make the argument that Musetti had a chance to win the third set, and now you go into the fourth and this match becomes complicated for Novak, unnecessarily so. So what does Novak do? Down love 30, he plays an absolutely perfect game, holds serve, and wins the match comfortably in straight sets. All right, now I'm going to analyze the strengths and weaknesses between Alcaraz and Djokovic. And I thought long and hard about this one, and I made some interesting choices. So on the forehand, the backhand, and the serve, I'm giving both players a check mark. You could easily make the argument that Alcaraz has a better forehand than Novak and that Novak has a better backhand than Alcaraz. You could also make the argument that Alcaraz has the more powerful serve. However, if I imagine a forehand to forehand exchange between Alcaraz and Djokovic, I don't feel that Alcaraz has the upper hand. I feel like Djokovic can hold his own. He might not have the same power that Alcaraz has, but he has the consistency, which in my opinion levels out the quality of the shot in comparison between the two. The same can be said for the backhand. Maybe 2 years ago I would have given Novak the advantage in the backhand department. Novak, in my opinion, has the best two-handed backhand in the history of tennis, but Carlos has improved his two-handed backhand tremendously, and I always listen to what the players say, and I've heard so many top players say that Carlos Alcaraz has the best backhand in the world. So just like the forehand, I don't see Carlos being in a disadvantage in a backhand-to-backhand rally. On the serve, while Carlos can serve faster than Novak, possibly his kick serve is more lively as well, Novak has improved his serve tremendously, and he serves with a high percentage and also hits the spots extremely well. He is, in my opinion, more precise than Carlos, and for that reason, I'm giving both guys the check mark in the serve department. Now, when it comes to the return of serve, I'm giving Novak the slight edge. Novak is the second greatest returner in tennis history. You can check out my video where I discuss why I'm putting Novak at number 2. So on the return, Novak compared to Alcaraz is a little bit more consistent. He gets more balls back in play. My feeling is that Alcaraz sometimes goes for a little too much on the return and can produce more errors compared to Novak. When it comes to the net game, I'm going to give both guys a check mark. Carlos Alcaraz is one of the best transitional players in the world. But if you watch the match in Cincinnati last year where Novak beat Alcaraz, Djokovic was serving, volleying a lot, and winning all those points at the net was one of the reasons why he came out victorious in that match. So Novak now is one of the greatest volleyers in the world. So both guys get a check mark regarding the net game. When it comes to feel, I think this is another element of Novak's game that has improved tremendously over the years. However, I'm going to give Alcaraz the slight edge in this department. We all know that Alcaraz has possibly the best drop shot. When it comes to offense, Djokovic is able to be very offensive. If you look at the graphic regarding court positioning in the Musetti Djokovic semifinal, you can see that Djokovic was much closer to the baseline. He was the one dictating play. So Djokovic is able to play very aggressively. However, Alcaraz is one of the most powerful players that we've ever seen. So regarding offense, I'm going to have to give Alcaraz the advantage here. When it comes to defense, Djokovic is possibly the greatest defensive player of all time, but we cannot underestimate the defensive skills of Carlos Alcaraz, which are truly spectacular. So in this department, both guys get a check mark. Now, the next factor is one of the most important qualities that a tennis player can possess, and that is consistency. And in my opinion, Novak Djokovic is the most consistent player in the history of tennis. And it is exactly here where Carlos in the past has faltered. So consistency is going to be a huge key for Carlos, and I'm giving the advantage to Djokovic in this department. Now, when it comes to movement, Alcaraz and Djokovic are different type of athletes, but I can't put Alcaraz's movement over Djokovic and vice versa. Both of these guys are spectacular movers, and it's one of the main reasons why they do so well on grass. So both guys get a check mark in the movement department. Now, if you saw my last video, you know how important other factors are regarding matchups that are independent from strengths and weaknesses. And there are a few very important factors to consider regarding Djokovic. Factor number 1 is his knee injury. He is moving well, but he hasn't faced a caliber of opponents such as Alcaraz on his way to the final. So the knee, in my opinion, is a huge question mark. And with Carlos's game style of using a lot of drop shots, opening up the court, Novak Djokovic's knee is going to be tested big time. And factor number 2, and this is the most important one, is looking at the year in total. And in my opinion, the French Open title helped Alcaraz tremendously. If you guys remember, Carlos won the Wimbledon title against Djokovic in the final last year. He then played pretty well in Cincinnati, but then after that, he started to slump a little bit, especially in the indoor season. Carlos did not play well. He then lost in the quarters in Australia, and it was only in Indian Wells when he started playing well again. He missed out on most of the clay court season, and at the French Open, in my opinion, Carlos Alcaraz won the championship despite the fact that he didn't play his best tennis. If you look at those matches against Sinner and against Zverev, there were patches where Alcaraz was playing poorly. But the fact that Alcaraz made it through those matches and got another Grand Slam title helped his confidence tremendously. On the other hand, Djokovic has not had that bump of confidence. In fact, he has not faced a high caliber opponent since playing Sinner at the Australian Open. He simply hasn't been tested this year. So it's for those reasons that I'm picking Alcaraz to win this match and get his second Wimbledon title.